you want your dollars to go to buy Hanover Volunteer Fire Department equipment, you tell me that's what you want me to do, and that's what I'll do.
If it's gonna keep us safer, yeah.
It ain't gonna keep you safer, cause your squad that you're paying for that they say's wore out spends more time at the BOSO than it spends in this station right here. Let me just give you a little bit of facts here. Last year, Hanover made about 325, 30 runs in Madison Township. You told me, right? I can't remember the exact number. 350 or
Between July 14th.
okay.
And they'd be lucky.
The average.
They had 300 between
Okay.
July.
So right now, what you're paying is you're paying $150,000 for fire protection. You're paying $12,000 for a fire protection officer because it's required by law if you don't have your own fire department. So you're paying $162,000 to make less than 300 runs is what we're figuring on. Perry Township's got a contract with Hanover Township, and they made like 260 runs last year, and they're paying $60,000 a year for fire protection. They're not furnishing them a firehouse. They're not furnishing them fire equipment. So, do you people want to continue to pay 5 times as much for fire protection as Perry Township is? All I need to do is know the answers of what you want to do.
Yeah.
Do we know
But
what
there's the-
Hanover
How many
pays?
residents are in Perry Township?
It doesn't matter about the residents, it matters to the runs that they make. That's the only expense there is. If the squad or the fire truck never goes out of the firehouse, it don't cost you anything for Hanover to make runs here. So, we're paying 3 times as much for fire protection by far than Perry Township is. So,
I got something to say.
yep,
As long as there's no fire department down here, I will never vote for another fire levy.
that's the
And
problem.
I have
we're
been
gonna have.
a resident of this township for 50 years, and I have voted for every single fire levy they've ever had on the ballot. But I will never vote for another one as long as that fire department's not here.
Yep.
I think another very important point is the medic that they're talking about is what and all the things that they're talking about are what our fire department have been wanting for a long time to make our fire department better. And we could never get the money to do it. We couldn't get a $4,000 washing machine put in because township trustees told us there wasn't any money until we looked at the finances and found out they were carrying over $700,000 every year.
Well, Mr. McDonald, we're not gonna distort the figures in the conversation about the washing machine or any of that. That's all behind us. The washing machine that was proposed was not sufficient. We already had agreements with the city of Newark that the uniforms
The
could be
volunteer
washed.
fire department had to go to Newark to get their equipment, to get their outfits washed at their own time. After they put out a fire, they had to drive to Newark.
You
That's
cannot
not
put
true.
that stuff in your private car and drive it anywhere.
Yeah, you're not supposed to put that in your car and drive it. It's the reason why it needs wash
We
is
have
because
researched on that quite a bit, and we're not gonna go backwards. We're gonna go forward on taking
Well,
care
you
of the
read
business
that
we
about
have.
cancer.
I know.
Fire
My husband
equipment
was a
in there.
fire chief. My husband died of renal cell carcinoma. I
Well,
know
then you
all
shouldn't
about
want
that.
it either.
why would you if you with that knowledge, why would you want our fire department to carry their gear in the back of their car to go to Newark?
Doug,
Nobody
we
ever
didn't
said
ask him that.
anything about them doing that, and we're not gonna get into an argument about that tonight. I'd be glad to discuss it with you any other time, but
But
right
we-
now,
But we carried over $706,000.
We did not carry
yes,
over-
I signed the paper. You just gave it to me.
I looked at the budget.
The whole
I saw
budget- The whole
706.
budget was $706,000 when I signed the first appropriation.
How much,
the first-
Karen? How much did we carry over?
first
then?
thing. How much
Inform
did we
us
carry
since we
over
don't
then?
know how to read a financial statement.
Part of that carryover is road funds.
Yeah,
Part
that's
of
what I'm
it's
saying,
general
but it's
funds.
all
Not
money.
all of it can be used for the fire department. And
Yeah, part of
You
it's
can
road
look at
funds,
it.
part of it's general. The general can be used for the fire
Yeah,
department.
that's right.
And part of it was fire department too. The point is that what this guy's asking for, I don't have any problem with Spellman asking, because he's going to try to take us for as much money as he can. That's his job. But the fact that the trustees wouldn't give our fire department any money to buy a new medic when it was broke down 237 days the previous year.
well, that's,
It's all behind us. I know it doesn't
No.
mean anything.
it does mean a lot, but we only have one side of the story. So right now, we need to continue with the business at hand of tonight.
Okay.
Mark, you wanna go ahead and take care
Well,
of?
no, Doug's thing is still on the table, right?
Yeah, do you want to put a levy on to buy them a new squad?
We're not here to talk about putting a levy on, that was not even discussed.
Well, you're gonna use their tax dollars to buy it if you buy one.
The trustees haven't decided on that yet.
There's been a lot of
Yes.
decisions
That's
evidently
why I'm
made
asking
for
it
us.
before we discuss it, so I know how they want me to
Yeah, I
vote.
think it's a good idea, yeah.
what I did, I emailed the trustees, I forwarded the specs and everything Brian emailed me. I'd recommend you take it, read it, look at it, you can
Okay.
discuss it next meeting.
And may I ask a question? My question is, what did you just say that you had sent out and
What-
will be addressed at next meeting?
What I did is Brian Spellman emailed me the specs on his recommendation. I forwarded it while I was standing here to the board, all the trustees and to Jennifer. So that way they can look at it, and Brian gave it to us, they can look at it, and then it's up for discussion. That way everybody has what exactly he's asking for.
Do understand that the emotions are high on this. You killed our fire department. Now you're giving the money that our fire department needed. Or talking about. Just talking about, because you have not done it.
We haven't
But
even talked about it.
Exactly. Well,
We listened
it
to
was
his-
talked about. Well, then we're voicing our opinions as you form your opinion on whether you should take the money. You're talking about taking money, so we're just talking education here.
And that's democracy, and that's what needs to be done.
Yes.
No, democracy did
Yeah,
not
very-
did not work
I
because the
wouldn't
people.
say that.
Yeah, but- okay, democracy did work. We've got 2 new people. We'll have 2 new people next time.
So if you buy the equipment, Hanover doesn't own it. I assume we.
No, but it goes
Madison
down to
Township-
Hanover.
No, so-
None of our equipment's
We
being
can
kept
say,
here.
we can say, if they're starting out with 3 24-hour shifts. So if they're here, you know, and we set those stipulations, just like we set the stipulations with all of it. So, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here, and I understand the questions, and I understand what Doug posed to you, but again, there has been no discussion about it. He brought it to, I mean, my kids come to me all the time and ask me to buy them something. And I can say, well, your dad and I will discuss it. That doesn't mean I'm gonna spend $50,000 on them or $180,000. You know, we said we would discuss it. We just seconds ago got the information.
Do you understand the emotions are high because you were discussing closing down the fire department or not? Because you weren't closing, you weren't shut down the fire department. We have it on tape that you weren't discussing it, but you did. So we don't trust you. So do understand that that's where the problem is. And we're not saying that you're going to do it. We're just letting you know what we feel about it in this room.
I'm very clear
Okay,
on that.
that's
Very
good.
clear.
Well, Perry
Yes.
didn't buy me.
What, wait, we have a gentleman that has asked for the floor.
I wouldn't, Doug, I wouldn't want you to conclude that everyone in this room is answering in the same, with the same voice. I would have to process the question, and then it seems to
Oh,
me
you
we're.
have to think about it before you
Exactly,
oh.
and listen, that's why I was asking about the next meeting, because that would be the time to have this kind of discussion, where the pros and cons and where do we go. I'm glad to hear that we have people here at this station. I'm all about having fire department in this right here, and so how we get there, I'm interested in
Another
discussing.
thing the board has to take a look at, you don't have the cash by any means. If you decide to buy it or buy it in 6 months, you're gonna have to look at, do we finance it? The tanker's gonna be paid off in 6 months, so can you use that if you decide to go that way? I mean, but there's a lot of questions that have to be asked and answers gathered before you can make an intelligent
But
decision.
I have a question. If Perry Township signed a contract with them too, they didn't furnish them squad and fire trucks and everything, did they?
No, they did not.
So why do
but
we have to?
Also,
We-
when you
we
look at the
haven't.
runs, let me, please, if you look at the runs, a year ago, when the fire department was discussed, it was, and I think you even said this, Greg, there's over 600 runs coming out of the station.
Mhm.
That's what we based it off of. Well, we're not making 170 runs,
He said
ma'am, please let me.
69 runs.
No, what I'm talking about, from July 14 back a year. Okay, we said there's 600 and whatever, 660 runs or whatever, running out of the station. Over 170 of those were going to the city of Newark.
Right.
Your medics and paid staff, taxpayers, were running them to the city of Newark.
Yeah, I'm against that.
Right. So now, what I understand, the run cards are changed from the city of Newark, cause this isn't staffed as much. And I think Mary Ann's coming down more into the city of Newark, and you probably know that, cause you're part of that station. So now, instead of running 600 and some runs, we're running 300 runs, or be lucky to, last month there was 14 runs. since January, so January, February, March, ran 69 runs. So now that throws something else into the mix. You know, before we base everything off of 600 and plus runs, and also we base it off of, we heard over and over, we need people in the station. We want people in the station. I understand that. So that may cost a little bit more. Hanover Township, and I'm not sure how many runs they make for Hanover. It's easy to find out. They pay 180,000, I think, or 185, somewhere in there, for the runs they make into Hanover. I don't know who owns. Does anybody know who owns the Hanover station? Does the village own it, or I don't know.
I would say the one down in the village belongs to the village.
Okay,
But
so
it's separate. And then the other two, I'm almost positive they did that back when you were on here. The one down on 210, they built. The fire department did, and I don't know about the original one, but
But did they get the money from the townships that they built it in? Cause like they're
I would-
asking Perry right now to build one.
Yeah.
They're
No,
asking
I
them
would
to
say-
set aside set aside
So I mean,
township funds. to
I guess
build
my
it.
point is, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. And
For
a lot of
69
this-
runs, we don't need to buy them a new squad.
That's a
That's a-
question.
that's a very
something
valid
that they
thing
need
to say.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's very,
That's what I'm saying. And Chief Spellman, you know, he wants,
Of course he does.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a new squad all mine.
ma'am,
but
I
I'm
don't
not
know,
gonna get it.
I don't know too many fire chiefs that don't want new equipment.
Right.
I mean, that's face facts. They want the new engines. They want the new squads. And I mean, but bless them for wanting it because they care. I really believe that. But there's a lot of information that they have to get and gather and digest before any decisions are going to be made. Educated decisions on this. So, and a big part of it is I watch the runs. You know, our runs have dropped in less than half. We may have hit 250 runs. Because I don't know if people are feeling better in the township or what, but it's just,
Maybe people aren't
we
calling.
can't get the paperwork because they refuse to give us the runs. But what you're gonna find out, we've been tracking them, and if you go back before, when we had our own fire department, I can guarantee you that they were probably making 3 or 4 times as many runs that had a medic on them, and almost never do they have medics on the runs now. Because we're tracking, there's people tracking all those runs. So they made the runs into the city, and what he's telling you is, we didn't make all those runs into the city. We made about 170 mutual aid runs, but what he's not telling you is they made over 100. Hanover, Marion, and the city made over 100 out here. So actually, what it is, it's the swing. It got us paramedics on almost all of our runs. We ran back around with the city, and now they're running out on runs all over the place. They had one the other night. They couldn't get a medic on an unconscious diabetic that they couldn't even get a medic for.
well,
So-
if you want the runs, it's easy. Go to 911 center and file a public records request. That's where I'd get them. It's simple. Go to 911 center, file a public records request, tell them you want the runs for Hanover and Madison Township.
We are asking for the roster in a very, very reasonable request, a roster of the Hanover Fire Department when you guys made your decision to close down the fire department. You didn't have it. So understand that we don't necessarily think that you're going to make the wise decision, because if you would have someone come in and take over our fire service and you don't know how many firemen or how many medics or paramedics they have, then we don't trust you.
Please look at the report I wrote. It has that information in it.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Please look at it. You go home, I'm sure you have it. Look at it. It compares.
There was a roster that we
Yeah.
provided that we
That-
saw that there are more paramedics on Hanover Department.
At that time.
Except for one little thing. He gave me a roster at the last meeting, it had 54 people on it, and we're not quite done with it yet, but what we found out is they've only got like 26 people that live in their coverage area, and their coverage area is all the townships. It's Perry, Hanover, Madison, and the village. They only have like 26 of those 54 live, and they're part of the people on that roster live in Pataskala, some of them live in Columbus. But they're putting on that roster.
how many Madison firefighters lived in Madison Township? I think.
Okay, but that's what you complained about.
But
they're
that's the
going-
point.
They're going the same
You
thing.
closed it down because you said some people didn't, and then you hire a fire department.
Their
That's,
department is
24 hours a day.
staffed 24 hours a
They
day,
have-
7
Have
days
to
a week,
rely on.
They're-
and ours was not.
Right,
Their
they have 4
response times are awful
people.
slow.
Where's
A lot of
24
times
hours
they
a
got
day?
people down there.
here or up there?
Hanover, really.
Hanover's
Okay.
department is staffed.
But there's still a lot of information that needs to be digested, but please look at the report I have.
Do the
It
research,
compares.
everything that they give you.
I'll show it to you.
Read it.
This department could have been staffed 24 hours a day too.
You couldn't afford it.
All you can do is just charge like everybody else does.
Even with the extra 30,000, you couldn't afford it. You
How much
really
you get, how much Mary Ann getting out of,
I
billing?
don't, how much they get out of billing? Well, I'm not sure, but I know they're getting.
It's way more than $30,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not much more. It's not, cause
Yeah,
I've
'cause you
talked
talked
to the
to-
chief.
yeah.
I went over it with him. It's not as much as what you think.
Would you guys be able to get to how much Hanover's doing with their billing? How much are they making? You guys,
I'll see if I can find
okay.
that. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you gotta have the information, to make decisions. I mean, I think everybody in this room, it's safe to say, you want the best safety services for Madison Township. You have one opinion, I have an opinion, they have an opinion. You know, but we all care about it, so it's how do we get to that point? And instead of, you know, this is a great conversation. I mean, I really believe that.
You know, when you bill, what most of us do is you bill, but you bill the insurance company.
But-
If these people don't have any insurance,
Right.
then they're not charged.
Yeah, basically it's soft
Township
billing.
picks up.
Right.
Right.
And there's a company that's,
And
cause
they
I'm
say
very
the
familiar
insurance
with it.
companies build all this in when
It
they're
wasn't going to.
charging
I mean,
you.
we saw that quickly, but
That's built into it.
Yep, I agree 100% because
it's okay.
if Madison, if a fire district or a fire company doesn't bill, that doesn't mean that Medical Mutual is gonna look at that
They'll
area and
give you
say,
a-
we're gonna
Right,
drop you.
No.
But there is
Everybody
soft
will be
billing,
famous.
a lot of them do that, you don't chase the people. The only time, and we'll bring up West Licking, the only time West Licking will go after somebody, there are some insurance companies that'll send the check directly to the resident. And if we find that out, then we will try to go after the money, cause it's only fair, they got it. But if they don't have it or something, we don't.
Do know, Mark, that Darren and Jody looked into the soft billing issue and the township trustees dropped it because whatever reason, they did drop the issue. So they did all the research on it and they said, no, we're not gonna do it. So understand when we're looking at the trustees and saying, well, why, you know, are you gonna be straight up with the numbers? One of the first questions, every time we turn around, we have another question. Why didn't you soft bill? And we're hearing a number around 100,000. So I don't know what the real number is. But even if it was 30, 50, 70, 100.
You're probably gonna be around 30, realistic, but it's 30,000.
But why weren't we doing it?
I can't answer. I just think we want
But-
the same thing. Let's work together.
But see, when
Jennifer
you
does a
say
great
you
job
want the
keeping
same
all that
thing,
stuff
when you
up.
say you want the same thing, and we're asking why didn't we soft bill before we got rid of the fire department? Since you're saying the financial side was why we got rid of the fire department, why didn't you soft bill before then?
The reason why, Greg, I don't want to take all the time, and we can debate 24-hour paid coverage, and I know some people don't agree with that, but that's what you have by working with Hanover. You could never afford to do that in Madison Township, even if you soft bill. And especially if we drop the runs down where they would have probably been. But that's information we need to gather and talk about, so I don't mean to take all your time.
I mean, yeah.
We need to move on, I'm
Good
tired of saying it.
conversation.
We still don't have any coverage out in our area, so you
We
know
need to
that.
talk
What they
about
do
that.
is-
You know, maybe bring,
We've
start
talked
out
about
with
it,
a
and
big
they
yellow
promised
one.
it, but I didn't get
It's
it.
called basic life support.
you are on learning
That'll
cards at
be,
least, you didn't have
depends
that
on your,
before.
on your, insurance.
On a
bill,
cardiac
350 to
arrest.
500.
If I have a
They've done
diabetic
some
coma,
more.
I want Mary Ann to come to me, not,
They've done
They've
some- they've done some
advanced life support.
They did.
I'll have to see it.
Yeah.
Then it goes up in like the
Because I
city
don't believe
bills
what
for
it
like
does.
$1,100-$1,200 if it's a heart run and for the drugs and all that stuff.
I'll be glad to give you a copy of my coverage.
Well, I know, I mean,
sheet.
everybody's coverage is different, that's why you soft
It
bill.
says 500
And
bucks.
Medicaid or Medicare, any pays,
And I
it's a
mean, they
lower
don't
amount,
pound it.
it's not what you think.
You know, if your insurance company has a,
Yep. It's not,
it's a, yeah.
yep,
$500 a run, 100 some run.
Okay,
but
Mark.
it's not all that.
That's what I had to pay. That's what Hanover got when they took Nathan off. That's
How much?
our insurance company.
$500.
Yep.
From Toboso, down there in Toboso, right across from their fire stations at Liquid.
Because they judge it by how far to the hospital,
And they
there's a
don't
lot
set
of
the
stuff to
rate.
it.
Well, let me
But
tell you
Heath
something.
was, $700 for a 4-mile run.
Yeah.
I got billed one time for New York City transporting me, which they didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the wrong name on it, but I got the bill. $782, and they picked this person up at CVS on the corner of West Main Street and took this person around the corner to the hospital. And it was $782.
They're lucky they didn't take a helicopter ride. What that cost. But go ahead, I mean, we got,
Go ahead and,
let me ask the trustees, what was done, between the two fiscal officers, the changeover, Wilson, Phillips, and Hagan?
yes?
did an audit.
They were the contracted auditors from the auditor state that had done prior audits for Madison Township. The state auditor's office, at the request of this board, issued an extension to that contract, so they were able to come in and audit the 2015 records from January 1st to December 31st, 2015. This is the preliminary draft report that was just received from them, and it is draft. It can't be reproduced, it can't be discussed unless we wanna have an executive session to discuss anything that's in it. But I think I'd like to take a few minutes to let everybody just review it, and we need to sign this, letter back to the auditor saying that, you know, that we're providing the letter in conjunction with the audit of the financial, status of Madison County governmental activities.
So how can we sign it without reading the report?
You can read the
You can
report.
read it, but you can't make copies, you can't take it with, it's not
It's
public record.
not been finalized. It
Yeah.
has to be approved by the auditor of state.
So what are we signing?
That you saw it.
Well, you can read this and that way you'll know what you're signing. I just read it a little bit ago, so
Okay.
I'm comfortable with going ahead and signing it. But if you wanna go ahead and review it, that's fine.
And once it's approved by state auditor, usually goes on their website, if I
Yeah, but
remember right.
it'll be available
all
from the
covered.
state auditor's website. It'll be provided, a copy will be provided to the Licking County Prosecutor's Office, and we can even put a link to it on our website.
Sure. And a lot of times we get an executive session, but I didn't want everybody to have to leave or us to go somewhere.
While she's reading that, can I just ask a question, totally unrelated to any of this?
Oh.
Do we have a noise ordinance in Madison Township?
Let me explain noise, can I do this?
Please
But I'm
do,
very
because,
familiar with
yes,
it.
I mean,
But this is
Good.
noise,
I came
noise
to the right place.
resolutions. Oh, 10 years ago, and I know I talked about Harrison Township, but we put together a noise resolution. We worked with Sheriff Department, we worked with the Prosecutor's Office. It was in 2006 or 2007 we did that. We adopted it because we have a lot of business and subdivisions, and we had kids, you know, out here, I think it's great, they're riding their four wheelers, and there they'd ride them, take the tubes off of them, they shoot guns Sunday morning, and this and that. We did that. The problem with the noise resolution is, it's only effective in certain districts. It's effective in basically residential. So even if you had one looking at your map, there's not much you can do with it.
I don't understand.
Okay, this is all
What that
through,
means.
this is through the, you have different zoning districts. If you look at
Because
this
we're
map,
agricultural
yes, ma'am.
largely.
If you look at the map, it's agriculture, you have some, is it manufacturing?
The gray is manufacturing,
And then you have business districts.
and then you have two R1s, R1 and 2.
And also in the Higher Revised Code, it discusses certain liquor establishments where they can only play music so loud. Harrison Township did that, contacted Sheriff Department, they worked with us on this. And the problem was, there's other townships interested in it. So once again, those townships got together at the request of the Prosecutor's Office and the Sheriff Department and said, let's put one together that can be adopted by townships. That way, everybody's doing the same.
Uniform,
Yeah,
sure.
it sounds great, doesn't it? Harrison Township did that. A few other townships did it. We get noise, nobody wants to enforce it. And
Nobody meaning,
law enforcement,
okay,
because two reasons, they're busy. And the other reason is, how do you determine, you know, the decibels? Do they take a decibel reading around with them? So for instance, Etna Township wanted to do it. They didn't even do it because it wasn't really enforceable. We have it on our books. But like I said, here with all the agriculture, you can't enforce it. If somebody wants to shoot a gun Sunday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's nothing you can do with it. City of Pataska fights the same thing.
okay,
There's
how
nothing
about if
with
you wanna,
enough teeth.
you know, blow up Tannerite or whatever that stuff is?
I would call emergency management then, or the FBI.
Well, that's what happened
Yeah.
near me just a couple of weeks ago.
I would suggest you call the sheriff's office and
Well, I
tell
did, and that's when I was
Yeah.
told that's probably what it was, and was it you who told me? Somebody told me that. I'm sorry. That, no, that a couple of weeks ago, that somebody showed up at the hospital because he got hurt by, stashed a bunch of Tannerite in a car and blew it up, and unfortunately it was more than they were expecting, and he got hurt by the
I
shrapnel.
was just concerned.
But it was an incredible explosion. So we don't, there's no recourse?
Not
For
from
us-
the township, we have no authority over that.
Well, that person won't do it again.
Yeah.
Well,
I wonder if you
no,
had to
you don't
pay-
know these people.
Hey, Frank, they're just step back
No,
another 10
no.
feet.
That's what I mean. I mean, these are people who shoot guns, you know, they just, you know, Saturday night and it's like,
But you're,
I'm stuck, huh?
a noise resolution wouldn't help you at all, because chances are it's not even in, if you have
Right, I'm
residential.
sure it's
down there,
in
But
that.
that's tough. I mean,
So I'm stuck with it. It's
Get
not
your
right,
basement.
right?
You'll make a great cash.
Unless I wanna take my gun and go
I
talk to
don't wanna
them.
hear that.
No, I don't even have a gun. I don't have a
Do you
gun.
want 20 people testifying?
Yeah, I'll edit that
She
part
said
out.
that, and Greg's got.
All right,
it around.
I'll edit that out.
Yeah. You're gonna sit there and say, yeah, this
I
is
don't have a gun.
somebody.
I don't have a
Okay,
gun. I'm
just,
just
Mr.
frustrated.
Walmers, you have a question?
Did a young lady contact any of the trustees from More Life Church? Okay, I gave them numbers and stuff, so,
And I just reported to her that we couldn't control traffic on the
Yeah.
road, so I told her to call.
well, I
sheriff's
wasn't gonna
department.
answer, that's
Alright,
why.
She has three in-house police officers that said they volunteer their time, so if the sheriff's
I think
department,
it's only a
okay, it's not
3K,
really a
isn't it?
township 5K,
Is it gonna be a 5K?
which is only 3 point something miles, 3
Yeah.
point,
Well, I said, you know, talk to them,
I mean,
Oh, wait.
yeah.
You remember the walkathon?
Oh, yes.
25 miles. We used to
25
walk.
miles, I did it once.
So now they do it 3.7. You know? We did that every year when we was kids.
Yeah, we did.
Younger and dumber.
Yep. I hiked down the Grand Canyon. We hiked down a mile, and I said, you know, we gotta get back up.
Yeah.
I said, this is easy.
You could fall down.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But from the noise resolution, it's, you couldn't even if you had an agency to enforce it, that has the time and the capability, the Ohio Revised Code wouldn't let you, because you're all agriculture and you don't have residential. Is that correct? Am I?
Yeah, even Madison's resolution only has a noise resolution for the business and manufacturing areas. And I believe the language says, when the zoning inspector thinks it's too loud and the BZA concurs.
And then the people are on.
So he's the guy I call next
Yeah,
time.
Only if it's in business or manufacturing.
Because ma'am, this is what would happen, if you probably took him to court, they'd have an attorney's gonna look it up and say, you know, they don't have the
Right,
authority.
they get to do what they want because it's zoned agriculture.
So they can keep blowing up, I guess.
Our township's like
Automatic
85%
weapons.
agriculture and, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But they really blew something up.
Oh, I expected to see a plume of fire going up into the sky. It was that loud. It shook
Where is
the
it?
building. I think their name are Lowe's,
I
their
don't
last
even
name
know
is
the name
Lowe's. Well, in case anybody knows.
It couldn't be.
Over on
No.
Dayton
Yeah, they
Road.
wouldn't volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See?
I went to school with them, so I know what you're talking about.
That come up
Thank
out of
you.
the valley, didn't it?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You guys knew
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, see, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
They came and asked, Mark, they came and asked us if we could build a house, and the answer was no. So then they built it. So then they had to go in with Don and the sheriff's department and pull all the fixtures, plumbing fixtures, because it was an unsafe location.
and I believe they put those back in.
I kinda wondered about that, cause when the trees are off, you can see down in there sort
I'm
of.
pretty sure they're in violation of their court order.
I'm gonna go knock on that door.
That'll blow you up.
Took the sheriff's
I'll go talk to you.
I would take.
You gonna go with me, Doug?
I'll go with you.
Yeah,
I wanna
so
see
got two
these
sheriffs
people.
on that
Yeah.
run. Yeah, I did.
Maybe
That
we
was
need to
good.
get that armored vehicle that is gonna put the doors back on.
This only applies in business and manufacturing and right.
Pretty much, I think they didn't come back.
Need to get the letter back to you.
We did, I handed it to you.
No, the letter,
Oh.
she's got it.
I'm sorry, I entered it, then I signed it.
But I reported to the BZA, the BZA then as a committee
And
decides.
I guess vibration doesn't mean like one time, when everything
No.
shakes, why they, okay.
What if they damage our house?
Yeah, if they,
No, no, they're too far away.
That'd be a civil matter.
They're too far away.
yeah.
I mean, they're lots away. They're just
Okay, thank you.
like
Your
to
dishes are
blow
out.
shit up.
How's July 4th in the neighborhood? I mean, is it anything?
I'll see. This is the first year they've done this, so. We'll see.
Forward to that.
Yeah, I know, it's gonna be a wild summer.
You give this stuff to me, or?
That's not
You can
even
have,
warm
I
yet.
can, I've got
I
one
know,
I need.
I know.
I thought you might need something to read.
And this was a warm
Okay,
Saturday
as far as
night.
another reminder announcement, the tire amnesty collection will be May 14th, 9 to 1 down here. It's being sponsored again this year by the Licking County Recycling and Litter Prevention Program. The
What
next,
is that date?
May
May
14th.
14th, it's on Saturday, yes. And the next
9 to
meeting
1.
is May 3rd, 2016.
I volunteer to help out at that tire day. I know last year you had to hire kids to help load them. Was that the day after? Or was that the
The
day
day
That
of?
was the day
Day
of.
of.
Yeah.
Would I be allowed to volunteer to help? And
Certainly.
save the townships
We do
some
not
money?
take volunteers.
All right. I just so there's no liability or
Yeah, we
anything.
do.
I'd be
I'll
glad to.
You'll be available?
If you
Okay.
get hurt in the
Thank
fire.
you.
Just remind me, because you know my mind's
I
not.
wanna ask
mind's
another
a good
question.
thing, So when you come to the next.
I'll remind Doug and Gordon's coming, okay.
You can't read your phone?
Well,
So,
it don't always work because I get mad at it and beat on it,
so
so.
what is this? You bring tires?
That website meeting notification feature, is that gonna set aside the need to put it in the paper?
No, we're still putting the
Like,
paper.
you put them in the
We
trunk
still
of your
need to
car
provide the
and then you bring them down here.
notifications to you. They have the
Unloads and
notification
loads.
of all our regular meetings, the only ones we need to notify them
Okay.
are if there's special meetings.
And what's your best guesstimate for the release of that audit report?
I don't.
Don't
I
know.
As
really
soon as
don't.
we can get this package back to
We'll get it to him tomorrow.
Mr.
I have a
Phillips and he can
pole
get,
barn
I
which
think
is
it's all
full
ready to
of-
go,
you
he
would
just
not
needed
believe
to
what it's full of.
get our
Not
signature on that.
Tannerite though.
And it'll depend on how long the state auditor's office takes to process it and see if they have any, you know, issues with what he did or any recommendations or if, you know, whatever the outcome is. Jason, you said you didn't have any more?
I did, but I thought it was something else, and you said fire thing. Isn't that the last one they're having?
That's the last
Out of
one
grant
because
money,
of
so it'll be out
the
of
grant money is
so
out, but they are hoping that maybe there's,
That's what they told me, it'd be
a
the
bright
last one
spot
for a
that could
while.
be
There'll be no
continued.
more grant money for.
Well, you can still take tires there for like 40 tires for $2 a piece or something. Remember, they told us at the county meeting, so, oh,
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
not
they
telling
said.
anybody that,
Where's there?
but
Licking
right down
County.
here at the
At the
litter place,
recycling,
yep.
the little
They would
house
prefer
on
the
on Main
greenhouse,
Street.
the green painted house, they prefer that you call them to let them know they're coming.
When you're coming, okay.
Or.
And they do have a limit, and I may be way off on that
Oh,
number.
we don't have
but-
that many.
She's
But-
way off on the number because I can't remember,
Is
but
it
the stuff,
12?
I was thinking it was, yeah, if you call 25,
Maybe
Oh.
20, I don't know.
There's
It's-
something-
I'm gonna have
there's
to
something
lift them
that-
into my
Doug,
trunk.
there's
It's
something
not
in the
gonna
law.
be
The
25
limit of
minutes.
times,
do that.
unless you're a
Just
commercial
a few.
license hauler, you can only haul 10 per
Okay.
trip.
Oh, no, nothing
10 per
like
trip.
that. I'm not
Yeah.
like these.
But I mean,
I know
we
she
still
told
can
us,
do it.
she told us something, there's a maximum amount of you allowed to haul at one time,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, you might want to put those around your house.
That's right.
You might want to buy some of them and put them around your
Go
house.
visit the lawns and see if they want to take them off.
They don't.
I think we guarantee that'd be a slow.
Yeah, yeah.
Chunks of them fall in the road.
No, they're too far away.